Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Melinda and this is a web of stories. And today I'm going to do something that I haven't done very much in the past, although at least for the next couple of weeks you'll see me do it kind of frequently, and that's a book tag. In the last couple of days I was tagged on 2 different book tags, and then there's a third one I'd like to do. So I'm going to do the first one today. I'm going to do them in order that I was tagged or discover the tag. So the first one I'm doing today, and then I'm recording this on Thursday. The video will most likely come out on Friday. I will do the next one on the following Tuesday, and then the final one on the Tuesday after that. And if I'm tagged on something in between now and then, I'll probably add it on to the Tuesday after that. So we'll just kind of go ahead and get this started. This one is the In and Out book tag, and I was tagged by Jennifer at Jennifer Loves Books. I will put all the questions down below. In the meantime, my daughter is actually going to read the questions to me as we go across. You won't hear her voice because she doesn't want to be on video, but I'll put a little card up where she would normally be talking, and just know that she's here participating in her own way. So let's get started. I am definitely an out on reading the last page first. I used to be someone who always read the last page first, which is why I didn't read mysteries until I was an adult. And then I got a Kindle, and that made it very, very difficult to read the last page first. So I stopped doing it, and my reading life has just been a lot better since then. So I am very much on the outs with reading the last page first. So, enemies to lovers is a romance trope. So I got to sort of preface that because right now romance isn't a genre that's speaking to me. But even when I was reading romance, I'm out on enemies to lovers. I don't know. I find it a little bit hard to believe. It's just not something that works for me at all. So dream sequences are one of those that I can't say I'm in or out on because it really depends on the context that they happen in, what the genre is, what's going on. I have read books where dream sequences are fantastic and they're integral to the story. Lots of times those are things like thrillers and horror ones. And I've read other ones where I'm like, why is this? Why is ink being wasted on this? So I'm definitely down the middle on dream sequences. I'm neither in nor out. So love triangles is another romance trope, and even more so than enemies to lovers, I am out on this. I hate love triangles. I'm either just annoyed with everybody, or the person who's not picked is the one I wanted and I feel bad for them. I just hate them. Hate love triangles, just with a passion. So definitely an out there. So crack spines are kind of I guess I would say I'm out on them, but the reason that I would say I'm an out for crack spines is not because I don't think people should be reading the books, because books are meant to be read. But I have found that books that have spines that crack really easily are not well constructed, like actual physically constructed books. And I think that they should be higher quality books. So that is my issue with crack spines and why I would say I'm an out on them. I don't think you should be able to crack the spine, but you should still be able to manipulate the book to be able to hold it so it's comfortable to read and things like that. Back to My Small Town that's another one that really kind of depends on the situation. I will say this. I think I'm in on this one. I can't really think. I'm just kind of doing a quick mental scan, and I can't think of any time where it didn't work for me. But I'm not one who really seeks that out in the Back to My Small Town. I think it generally works, so I'm going to say I'm in on Back to My Small Town. Monsters are regular people. So I kind of this is another one where I have trouble kind of answering it. If I look at it in the sort of Scooby-Doo thing where it's always like some guy in a mask, and you have a really big buildup, and then you turn out that it's just some person in a mask or whatever, or it's just some person who's kind of behind the whole thing, and that's very anticlimactic to me. So I would say I'm out if you look at it that way. But if you look at it in that someone is so wounded or someone has something so dark in their soul that they become the monster, I think that's actually really interesting. So I would say I'm in if you look at it that way. I am an out, 100% out on no paragraph breaks. No paragraph breaks and no punctuation will make me just not read a book. Just that's it. I won't read a book if it doesn't have those. So out completely. I like a multi-generational saga as long as there's a plot. I have picked up a number of multi-generational sagas where there just is no plot. It's just kind of going through the lives of all these people, and that's it's not really a novel to me. So I would say if there's a plot, I'm all for a multi-generational saga. If there's no plot, then I'm an out. I would say I'm in on rereading. I don't do it probably as often as a lot of people. And when I do reread, I tend to have my reread on audio. And frequently that's because I'm going to be participating in a book club that discusses a book I've previously read. But I actually enjoy doing it. And sometimes it's just nice to go back and reread a book that you know is comforting or brings you back to a happier time or whatever. So I'm going to say I'm in on rereading. I'm going to say I'm out on artificial intelligence, but that's a really soft out. I can't think of any book I've really read that has real artificial intelligence. I mean, unless you're talking like robots, but even that's not what I think of when I think of artificial intelligence. I think of like the computers taking over the world. Just not something I just generally enjoy to read. That's not a type of book that I would like. So I would just say, as it's indicative of a type of book that doesn't appeal to me, I would say I'm an out on artificial intelligence. So I actually had to look up to what drop caps are, and I've seen two different definitions of them. One is where if you go to the beginning of a chapter, like the first line in the chapter is all capitalized, and then it just goes to normal print after that. And I don't care. I mean, I don't care if that happens or not. I have no feelings whatsoever either way. So I won't say I'm in or out because it's just not something that I even probably notice. The other definition I saw of drop cap is when the first letter of the first word of a chapter is very big and then it's like decorative. And in certain books, that's wonderful. If you're reading a fantasy or a fairy tale retelling or anything like that, those are wonderful. They add a lot of character to the reading experience. I do sometimes see them in books that don't need them. And then it's just kind of like, why would you do this? So I'll say generally I'm an in on drop caps because they can be great. And when they're not great, they're just kind of a little bit annoying. So that's an in for me. Happy endings. I would say I'm an in on it. My genre of choice at the moment are mysteries, and generally mysteries you solve the murder, so it's happy, I guess. Um, but I'm not opposed to unhappy endings either. Um, I guess I want to have an appropriate ending for a book, and if that's happy, that's great. But if it's happy and it doesn't make sense how they got to the happy ending, then I'm out. But also, if it's just a downer ending and everything about the book is downer and there's nothing you can take from that, I don't like that. So I would say generally I'm an in on a happy ending, but not 100%. I'm actually an in on this because the times that I've read it, it has been done well. But I also recognize that it's not always done well. And I think that if I were to encounter it in a book where it is not done well, I would hate it. But generally, I'm going to say yes because in my experience, that has worked well for me. I'm going to say on detailed magic systems that I am an out. Only because you find those detailed magic systems in like high fantasy, which is a hard genre for me. Um, I also will start questioning it. I think the one set of books I've read that has a real I've read the whole thing that has a really detailed magic system are the Harry Potter books, and even then I was kind of like, but how come this works and what's the I start trying to rationalize it. So I think maybe my brain gets a little too I don't know, tries to put it into a box too much. So I would say generally no, I'm an out to detailed magic systems. I'm going to say I'm an out for classic fantasy races because I'm not really sure what that means. Does that mean races like two things racing against each other, or races like orcs and trolls and things like that? Oh, my daughter's over here nodding, says orcs and trolls and things like that. Again, that pretty much falls into the high fantasy realm, which is a genre that I have read, but it's not my preferred genre, and it's one that I struggle a little bit with. So I'm going to say that I'm an out on it now that I know what it is. So unreliable narrators are kind of like the plot points that come together at the end. If it's done well, it's fantastic. I will say I may be not as convinced of my being in on this, only because it tends to be overused. And pretty soon it's like, there was that period of time where I think we still might actually be in it, where you had all the girl books, the girl on the train, the woman in the window, the whatever, the girl where it was just, drunk woman, drunk woman, drunk woman. Um, so generally I like it, except I feel that it's overused. So I'm gonna give a tepid in to that one. I'm going to say I'm in with an evil protagonist. I don't see it very often, so when it does happen, I like it. So, of course, like anything else, it has to be done well. But I think that's a interesting twist to have an evil protagonist. The chosen one. Again, when I hear that, I go back to Harry Potter, and I had this theory through all of Harry Potter that I really wanted the chosen one to end up being Neville. I thought that would just be appropriate, and didn't happen. So I'm still a little bitter about that. But I don't know. I'm going to say I'm out on the chosen one. That's just sort of something I don't read a lot. Doesn't appear in the books that I read a lot. I don't know. I'm going to say no to I'm an out on that one. I'm going to say I'm an out because that's got to be sad. Um, Now, lots of times there's going to be books where you just know that's going to happen, and so it's kind of the deal. You can't be upset about it if you know it's going to happen. But that would maybe convince me not to read the book. So I'm going to say I'm an out to when the protagonist dies. I'm an out to really long chapters. I'll tell you that right now. I am just an out. I like my chapters, like if I'm on my e-reader, to say it's going to last like 10 minutes or so. That's a good amount. Part of that reason is because I like to be able to put my book down at a really logical place. And if I have to read another 60 pages to get to the end of the chapter, that can be hard. So I'm going to say no, I'm an out to really long chapters. I do like a French flap. I'm in on French flap because I think it adds a little class to your paperbacks. Also, if a paperback has a French flap, it needs to be a sturdier cover, which means it needs to be a better constructed book. So, yes, I'm all for that. Yes to French flaps. And no to deckled edges. I hate deckled edges. I was just recently reading a book with deckled edges, and I kept missing pages because I had trouble just getting one page to turn. I hate them. The only good thing about deckled edges is that you have to have a high quality paper to do them. So you do know that there's a level of quality to the book, the construction of the book with a deckled edge, but you can still have that quality and not have the deckled edge. And I would be a much happier reader without them. So I'm no to deckled edges. I'm in on signed copies to the author. I have some. I like to order my Louise Erdrich books from her bookstore, Birch Bark Books in Minneapolis, so that when I get them, they're signed. And that's just kind of a nice little thing. What's really nice is when they're personally signed to you. I have an Amy Tan book up there that she signed for me to me. I went to an event where she was a speaker, and she did a book signing, and so I really like it when they're personalized to you. But otherwise, yeah, I'm all for signed copies. I think that's kind of fun. Honestly, I don't care about dog-eared pages. I don't dog-ear my pages. I use a bookmark, but I am not offended if other people dog-ear their pages. So I don't want to say I'm in or out. I'm just kind of like right there in the doorway on dog-eared pages. I don't care. I would say I'm in depending on the book. What I'd really like are chapter titles and numbers. That's like the perfect way to do it. But just, as long as I have something that breaks it up, that has a title or a number or something, I don't really care. So I'm going to say I'm in on it, but it's not a strong in. I do like a quirky detective. I got to say I'm an in on that. If you read mystery series, you need to have some reason to keep coming back to the books, and that the constant in this book is usually going to be the detective and maybe their assistants or their helpers or whatever. But the central character that's going to be in everything is the detective, and so you want that character to be interesting. I don't necessarily need them to be quirky, but quirky characters tend to be interesting. Now there are lots of like Armand Gamache is not quirky, and he's definitely worth coming back to read in further books. So it doesn't have to be quirky for that to happen, but quirky is a good way of doing it. So I'm going to say I'm in on Quirky Detectives. Um, Again, I don't think I think I'm in the doorway on this one. I don't think I'm in or out. Having multiple murders adds suspense because that adds almost a thriller element. Usually there's like a murder at the beginning that starts everything, and then there's like another murder later in the book. And so that adds almost kind of like a thriller element. So that's really great to have that when you have multiple murders. However, I'm fine with just one murder if it's a well written book. So I'm in the doorway. I'm either in or out. So this is I'm going to say I'm in on this because I'm reading a number of long mystery series. I have, let's see, I'm caught up with the Gamache series, which has 18 books. I'm caught up with the Cork O'Connor series, which I think has 18 books. That one has a prequel, so it's kind of hard to count the numbers, right? Or maybe it's 17. I don't know. It's about the same length. And it's always like this. Like I'm really invested in the characters when I'm been with them this long. And if an author can keep developing characters throughout and keep the quality of the books up, which both Louise Penny and William Ken Kruger are able to do. Not all of them are able to do it, but if they are able to do that, that is worth it to me. I just want to keep that series to keep on going. Now, on the other end, I'm also reading the Commissario Brunetti books by Donna Leone, which are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but the 32nd book in that series is coming out, and I just finished book 4. So when you're at the beginning and you've got a long ways to go, maybe I'm not quite so in on long mystery series. I'm much more in the in group if I'm caught up with it. But yeah, I'll say long mystery series. I'm in on that. So as for tagging other bloggers, I don't know who has done this and who hasn't. So I'm going to tag 2 bloggers. If you have not done this one, please, and you want to do it, please do, and tag me so I can see your answers. And if you already have, or you just choose not to, that's fine too. No pressure. So I am going to tag Leandra at Leandra the TBR0, who has tagged me in the next one I'm going to be doing. So we'll have a little bit more Leandra coming up. And I'm going to tag Sue at Sue by Book, who I have. We've been like book blogging kind of friends for a long time, and we have really similar reading tastes. So I'm interested to see what she has to say. So thank you very much. And if you would like to do this, please do this one and tag me somewhere so I know that you've done it and I can come watch your video. And if you like what you've seen here, please like this video, subscribe, leave me a comment. And if you stay all the way through to the end, you'll see where you can find me on social media, or look in the box below and all my social media stuff will be there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.